Bernie Sanders on
Screensaver?
Bernie Sanders popped up. It scared me.
Client?
Yeah.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to call the March 2nd, 2017 Columbia County Planning Commission meeting to order. If you'd stand with us, Commissioner Gallis will lead us in the invocation. Commissioner Henderson will lead us in the pledge.
Our Most High Lord, we thank you for all of the blessings you bring us every day, fair weather, fine community to live in, a place where we can bring matters of importance and discuss them freely and openly. Please protect our first responders, those who stand in harm's way for this nation, and come reside among us as we deliberate matters important to our county.
Flag to the republic. Thank you. And if I could remind everyone to silence your cell phones. We do have a quorum present tonight with all 5 commissioners present. Gentlemen, I need a motion to approve or amend the minutes from the February 16th meeting.
Here, I'd like to make a motion to amend the minutes to add the last name of the Boy Scout, Campbell,
Okay, last name's Campbell.
instead of saying Miss Liz, we can add her last name to it. Well,
All right.
and that's all.
Any other amendments? Seeing none. Need a motion. We had the motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor to amend the minutes? Amendment carries 5-0. Gentlemen, I was absent for the work session for the sign ordinance, but we do need an approval for the minutes from that work session.
Yeah.
Do we hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? And I'll abstain since I was absent for the meeting. Gentlemen, we've had the agenda. We've reviewed the agenda. Are there any additions, omissions, or additions to the agenda for tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll need a motion for approval.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor? Motion to approve the agenda carries 5-0. Before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to clarify that the Planning Commission is a recommending body to the Columbia County Board of Commissioners. The decisions made on rezoning and variance requests tonight will be forwarded to the Commissioners for final action on March 21st in these chambers at 6 p.m. If you wish to address the Board of Commissioners at their meeting, please see Ms. Liz in the corner over here to obtain a request to speak form. We're less formal here. If you'd like to speak when we open our public hearings up for public comments, we'll give you 3 to 5 minutes to come up to the podium and give us your opinion either for or against a particular issue. With that being said, let's move on to item 1B, a variance file VA 170102. Ms. Bolte.
Yes, sir. This item was tabled from the January 19th meeting. It is a request for a variance to our sign code at 4075 Evans to Locks Road. This property is located on the north side of Evans to Locks near the intersection with Blue Ridge Drive and is currently zoned P1 professional. Here's an aerial view of the site. In a street view, you can see the previous sign that was on the property there in the front. That was replaced with the sign in the bottom right of this screen. This was a 90 square foot sign that was erected without a permit. Since the January meeting, staff has met with the applicant to discuss ways to revise this sign to bring it closer to the sign code allowance. And this is the result of those meetings. The top left shows the structure of the sign reduced to the 60
Ms.
square
Bolte,
feet.
you take a seat. Mr. Bailey will call
Yes.
you when after she presents the county's analysis of your situation.
So the top left shows the structure area reduced to the 60 square feet, but this gap below it means that the sign is not a monument sign, which is required by code in this location. So the agreed upon design between staff and the applicant is this bottom right, which fills that gap in with the stone base. That gives the applicant a little bit more height to get above the landscaping that's required around their pond in front. It adds roughly 10 square feet to the sign over what would normally be allowed by code. And we did work with the applicant to discuss ways to revise the landscaping so that that smaller addition, the 15 inches at the bottom, would be effective for raising the sign above the bushes. The bushes that are there currently are much larger, as you can see, and do block a good bit of their sign. So this is a rendering we received earlier this afternoon of one possible way to revise the landscape to address that issue as well. Staff is recommending approval with conditions. The conditions being that the sign is limited to the 70 square feet they have shown in that rendering and must be permitted and constructed to the specifications of the variance within 6 months. And we are also requesting a landscape plan to be submitted for the revisions to that landscape around the pond.
Will that landscape plan be provided by the applicant, or will our resident landscape architect be available to help him put together a landscape plan?
They'll have to provide it, but Jonathan, I'm sure, would be happy to work with them on what may be acceptable there.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan can be used to finagle on site, move plants around, that sort of thing, but the actual work needs to be done by the applicant.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, any questions of staff?
Typically, how long does it take?
Depends on who puts it together, a couple weeks max.
And is it required before permitting the sign? I'm trying to get an idea of the order of.
It wouldn't necessarily be required before the sign. I think we could definitely work with the applicant to get the sign permitted and then work on a landscape plan that promotes visibility from the road.
The sign will have to be complete before they install the landscape.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
It would be smart to do it that way.
Okay, gentlemen, any other questions of staff? All right, Mr. Bailey, now it's your turn. Please come forward, give us your name and home address.
Blaine Bailey, my home address is 521 Adams Mill Lane in Evans, Georgia. We discussed what changes we needed to make. I'm in agreement with what we do. What we are is we're taking 15 inches off of each side and the top. The only issue that we have right now is we don't know how we're going to be able to light the sign. Obviously, we won't be able to use the lighting that we purchased for it. So I don't know what we're going to be able to do with that. We've been trying some different spotlights from across the way, across on the other side. It doesn't seem to be, it's too far. So I don't know, there might be somebody, I talked to somebody at AAA Sign, and they said that they could help us figure out some kind of way to light it. We can't really light it from the bottom because of you can see the concrete there. So it's hard to get any kind of light to come up. The other side we can light, that's not an issue. It's just this side, so we haven't figured out how we're going to be able to light the sign yet. If we go all the way across, it's, I guess, too far away from it to be able to. We tried a 250-watt spot, and that's not doing it either, so it might have to be something brighter. But I'm worried if we get much brighter, it's going to blind people coming up the road. So we just have to figure that out. Had we been able to put one more board on the top, as you can see, the lights would have fit on that. But where we're at right now, we won't be able to use it because it won't be able to light up the Tranter part of the sign. We tried that to see. So that's the only issue that we have right now is how we would be able to light the sign. Other than that, we talked about taking the bushes out and putting one of those red hedge bushes in because they grow pretty quickly and they grow real thick.
Everroot.
Yeah, exactly. That's what we talked about doing, but of course we got to meet with the landscape to make sure that that's approval enough for them. But we believe if we go up 2 feet, it's enough to still see the sign. And cost is probably going to be right around $4,000 to do the sign and the landscaping. It is what it is, and we just have to get it done.
All right, gentlemen, any questions? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular request? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve variance request VA 170102 with conditions. Conditions to not exceed 70 square feet. Sign must be permitted and constructed to specifications within 60 days. And the landscape plan must be submitted to the county within 90 days.
All right, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Gentlemen, all in favor? Okay, and I'm going to abstain because Mr. Bailey and I are direct competitors in the advertising business in town. So the motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. Okay, Ms. Bolte, temporary use permit.
Yes, sir, this is a request for a temporary use permit at 4201 Washington Road and is currently zoned C2, general commercial. And the proposal is for an office trailer on the site for construction of Belk. This is the aerial of the site and the site plan where they intend to place the trailer, and staff is recommending approval.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions of staff? I understand that they do have external materials on display next to the trailer, or will have?
They will.
Okay.
Be
All right.
shown in the plan.
Okay. Gentlemen, any other questions? Okay. I'll need a motion. This is not a public hearing, so we'll get no input from the public.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the temporary use permit for tax map parcel 078-138-4201 Washington Road.
Do I hear a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve the temporary use permit carries 5-0. Down to our variances tonight. Ms. Bolte, I believe you got both those. File VA 170301.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a variance to setback requirements at 3939 Full Moon Drive. This property is currently zoned S1 Special, and it is under construction as a residence. The parcel is located up by the lake off Keg Creek Drive, and as I said, is currently zoned S1. This was zoned S1 originally for a fishing club. It was all one parcel at that time. It's since been subdivided. The subdivision at the time did not include setback information. When the development plans were brought in for the residents, they were given setbacks of 10 feet, which matches the residential around them, that R4 district. They now wish to construct a deck on the back of the house, which will intrude 9 feet into that 10-foot setback, so they will be 1 foot off the property line. This is going to push them into some additional construction requirements with the fire code, but they do back up to the core property, and as you see here, have a lovely view over the lake, so they won't impact any neighbors with the request. And staff is recommending approval.
Gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. You'd like to come forward, give us your name, home address, and any additional information you'd like us to have?
My name is Dennis Fairman, and I live on 937 Rollo Domino Circle, Evans, Georgia. It's a temporary location while we're building. We bought this property 10 years ago, roughly, and with the intent to eventually build on it. And we recently sold our farm on Hereford Farm Road, and now we're able to go ahead with the construction of our retirement home. And so we've worked very closely with the county in all regards. Mark Woody from the Environmental Services Department to spec out the size of the home and the septic system. We've also worked with the Planning and Zoning Group to make sure that everything is up to code. We had the lot resurveyed before we submitted it to Mr. Woody, and we actually staked out the location of the home to ensure that he was acceptable with that. He actually came out and observed the location of the home and signed off on that. We got a permit to build, and and we also submitted, we did a survey of the excavation of the foundation, and that was approved as well. So we've tried to follow all the county requirements as closely as possible. And I guess the one thing that we would like to do is be able to put the deck on the back of the home so we could look at the lake and enjoy the view of the lake. So we are requesting that variance.
Okay, gentlemen, do you have any questions?
Looks like a nice lot.
Thank you. It's really a pretty lot. Beautiful view of Chico Creek. We're really looking forward to moving up there.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance VA 17-03-01 with the, that's it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. Ms. Bolte, file VA 170302.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a variance to the sign code for the parcel that's known as Kroger Road. It doesn't currently have zoning, but it's located here just to the east of Kroger. It connects from Columbia Road to Washington Road, provides access to the Kroger development and the related out parcels. Properties around it are primarily zoned C2, general commercial. And this is an aerial of the road. The request has been submitted by what is South State Bank, formerly Georgia Bank and Trust, to place a sign on the Kroger Road parcel. They do not own the Kroger Road parcel, and it is not part of their property, so this sign is considered an off-premise sign and does require a variance. You can see the Georgia Bank and Trust, it does have an existing sign at the end of Kroger Road where it intersects with Washington Road. Basically, the request is to replace this sign with a new sign. So this is the proposal for the new sign at this location, and the site plan, it would shift back just a little bit. It meets the requirements for being out of the right-of-way and shouldn't cause any other issues. This location is somewhat unique in that this road does provide direct access to the bank property, and staff feels this is a good reason to allow a sign here as far as helping with wayfinding for the community. And additionally, the sign does then meet the requirements for the Washington Road corridor overlay, which the current pole sign does not, so kind of get that benefit as well. And staff recommends approval.
Okay, gentlemen, any questions of staff? Is the applicant here this evening? Yes, sir. Please come forward, give us your name and home address.
I'm Steve Wagner with Sign Art, 12612 Peyton Court, Charlotte, North Carolina. South State just purchased Georgia Bank and Trust, if you've seen, and are looking to build their brand in the Augusta market. And the existing sign didn't quite fit with what they were looking to do, to just replace faces. So we've worked with the county and also the landowner and came up with, and actually that sign's very similar, but it is different than what I sent recently. Actually, it's the same sign, it's just going to be a lot shorter. The blue and gold part will be the same, but the brick will only be about 20 inches tall. But the location was correct. And it's important for them to still have visibility on Washington Road, especially being a new bank with lots of changes. They don't want anybody being confused that the bank may have gone away. So, consideration.
Gentlemen, any questions?
In regards to size, is it the same size as the one on Columbia Road?
The South State Bank part is, yes,
Right.
Same size.
Same size?
The brick in here, you're basically taking it all down, getting rid of the time and temp, and it's going to be shorter. That was something we worked out with the landowner. They didn't want the sign to impede with the Kroger sign, but the top of the sign remained the same size.
So it's not going to have the time and temp?
No, sir.
Gentlemen, any other questions?
This sign's going to be significant, obviously, because it's whole.
Total of 12 feet. 12 feet will be the total size of the.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
This is a public hearing. Is there anyone here that would like to speak either for or against this particular variance? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve VA 170302.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries 5-0 to approve. We have no added items. We have no legal matters. Any staff or commissioner comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, I will accept a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Lots of discussion? Y'all sure you want to leave? All in favor? Motion to approve carries 5-0. Meeting adjourned at 6:20.
I was, by the way,
On
you
the
asked,
money.
I was opposed to closing the meeting at that point.
I know.
Asked.
On the money.
On the money. Next meeting.